Well. Have we got a show for you guys today? Welcome to everyone who's already here, and we'll get the show on the road very shortly. I see this Ghostin, El Johan, Spliffy Magoo, Brit. Hold on to your seats. We're about to start the show very shortly. And please, everyone who's already here, remember to like and repost the stream or share it on whatever platform you're watching on, and we'll get on the show very quickly. Hello, GM, everybody. I see new people are finally arriving in the chat too. Eleni, DeFranco. Hi, Burnham. We have got a show for you today. A man who needs no introduction because he's one of the most influential people in the whole crypto space. And we all know him as Jihoz. We haven't talked in a while, and I'm really looking forward to this chat. How's it going? You're muted, Jihoz. One sec.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Loud and clear.
Okay. I can't hear you though, so that's perfect. Technical problems. 1 second. It might be on my end. Just give me a second.
Did the chat hear me?
There we go. Sorry. You guys thought that the show's technical problems were bad when it was Gila running things. It's even worse when it's me. So how have you been? It's been a while.
I'm good, man. I'm here in Vietnam. So.
Yeah, you moved recently, right?
Been here for about 2 months now. So.
Oh, cool. How's that been? Have you ever lived in Vietnam, or is this the first time you've moved permanently?
I lived here in the early days. So I lived here in 2018, 2019. Then went home for COVID in 2020. I got kind of shut out because they shut down the country. I was living in my parents' basement during COVID. I was living in my parents' basement during COVID. Then I went to Korea, got married, and then Axie started blowing up around that time.
Oh yeah, cool. So it's been a while. I'm really looking forward to this chat, and the community has a lot of things that they want to get your take on. So I think one of the good things that we can start off with would be just the Ronin chain as a whole. Obviously known for first and foremost.
Yo, you guys are stepping it up. We got we got the programming, we got a presentation. Oh,
yeah, that's all thanks to the guys behind the scene. But yeah, so the first thing, obviously, the thing that Ronin is most known about is crypto gaming. What's the first question I have for you is what do you what first comes to mind when you think about what's actually working? And let's say if you're thinking about it over the last 3-4 months, or 3 to 6, let's say, in gaming on Ronin, what sticks out to you as something that's really working?
So the pattern that we see is teams are finally actually figuring out ways of getting users, getting revenue, creating these economies that isn't just reliant on huge amounts of token incentives. And so you're seeing that with Cambria, right? You're seeing that with Moku, where you really see this kind of, people call it risk to earn. I think risk to earn is generally I guess a good simplified way of thinking about it. But basically the idea is that, right, there's no free lunch. If you want to earn something, right, there has to be some sort of prior spend or kind of money on the table. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing working. And, in the Axie days, right, there was so much liquidity in the market. And the big reason, right, that the Axie economy worked back in 2021, 2022 is that Binance, right, they listed SLP. And they listed SLP without really, right, just kind of YOLO listing it. And that ended up, right, basically creating so much demand for SLP. It was almost like an early meme coin, right, where Binance traders just bought it because, right, all SLP that existed had to be earned. It had to actually be created with time and human effort. That was actually superior to the tokenomic models of a lot of other coins at the time, right? So a lot of people were, especially at super low valuations for SLP, they were just interested in buying it on Binance, and that basically created this capital inflow, right? Where actually those people who were buying on Binance were kind of like the risk to earn cool, if that makes sense, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
they were
mhm.
buying, right? They were kind of just gambling on SLP, buying it for fun, buying because they thought it was interesting, thinking that maybe it would pump. And that was kind of like the capital inflow that was causing people to breed axes. And but that's
Mhm.
not, but that's a thing that, right, is only possible in certain market environments, right?
Yeah,
People
special
are,
conditions.
it's like
I'm,
special conditions. It's not a repeatable, right?
yeah.
It's not like a repeatable thing that you can just bank on happening
Yeah.
whenever you need it to. So the thing that is good about risk to earn is that it is a model that can work in any climate, right? The business model is a little bit more similar to poker, right? Still skill based. You have to be good at the game, but right, there's some RNG involved. There's no, right. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like some of the crypto games of the past where it was like, okay, everyone, as long as you're early, can make money, but if you're late, you're
Yeah.
definitely gonna lose money, right?
Mhm. Yeah, like I guess like the Ponzi games we saw come out resurge after, like over the last year that we saw on other chains on abstracts and stuff like that, where it was simply you get in early and that,
I
so it's like
mean,
it
a bit
added
of
that
that
to
is okay and fun or whatever, right? I see that as like crypto gaming's kind of version of meme coins or something like that. I still think that
it.
that is preferable or more serious in some ways than memes. Um, right, a certain amount of that is fun, but that's not like enough substance to sustain an ecosystem for the long run, right?
Yeah, it's like
So,
a branch. It's like a branch of what things are, like a branch of the tree, but it can't be the only thing that you're. It's like you just have to acknowledge that it's there, right? But you have to be working on other stuff, right? And so, yeah, for Ronin right now, Ronin at the moment, what would you say you guys are like doing at the moment for like acquiring new users? Let's say, obviously, it's a tough question because the market conditions are rough for everybody, right? And one of the biggest ways to get people in is token go up and stuff like that. But so yeah, what can you tell us about that? About like user acquisition and stuff like that at the moment?
so for us, we have our kind of publishing games, right? You have games like Cambria, Moku, Fableborn, Fishing Frenzy, Pixels, and Angry Dynamites, right? So each of these games, right, represents kind of a unique shot on goal that where we support them, we'll invest in them, and then right, they go out and try different UA strategies to bring users to the chain, right? So I think the promising thing that we're seeing is you have teams like Moku that are actually driving volume and Cambria that are actually able to figure out new economic models. And so yeah, I think like a lot of our UA, a lot of our growth is really up to our partners and kind of figuring out models that are going to work for scaling together. Right, that's
Mhm.
basically right the bet that you have with Ronin as a chain. I think Pixels is really interesting, right, because they also are creating kind of a UA platform.
Mhm.
And what we're also seeing is that since right, you have teams like Cambria and Moku that are succeeding, right? Nothing is really working that well in crypto beyond right a few very narrow niche use cases, right? Like Hyperliquid is doing well, right? Maybe you have some RWA tokenization, some stable
Mhm.
coins, but
Mhm.
things related to entertainment, things related to onboarding everyday people, it's not going very well. But where it is actually working and showing promise, all of that is centered around Ronin. The best crypto games that are actually working, I think it's undeniable that these things are happening on Ronin. You got Ragnarok Online. They've literally turned a Web 2 game into a successful Web 3 game, into a crypto game. You have thousands of people playing. It's always in the top projects for NFT volume on Ronin. And a lot of the players don't even know that they're using the chain, right? So this
Yeah.
is this is kind of a so that is like user acquisition. And so yeah, that's how I see a lot of it. We also have Axie, right? So our bet on the Axie side is that, right, Atia's legacy can be something that both reactivates a ton of the dormant Axie community, whereas it's also something that can attract a net new audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, yeah. What would like, so I think the that would mean that like so these teams, these games are the ones that are on who we're relying the most for user acquisition, and that's a good thing, right? Because once you can observe, you can also support them, right? How active would you say? It's a very vague question, right? So it's going to allow you to go in any direction you want. But how active would you say Sky Mavis is in these games and their user acquisition? As in, like, do they come to you with their ideas, with things like that, or are they rather more independent about it, and you're just sit back and watch and see? And
We can be hands-on, and generally what we'll do is, right, like, we'll invest and we'll make a variety of different resources available to them, right? Like, we have millions of emails, we have all of our different channels, and so yeah, I think it depends, but we try to be relatively hands-on, and I think that is one of the things that distinguishes us as a chain, is that we work closely with the best builders. We're not doing it with everyone, right? We're doing it with the ones that we think actually have a good chance. And then, right, if our job is that if someone is doing a really good job, then we should, right, know about it, and then find ways to get actively more involved to help them continue to win.
yeah, okay, fair enough. So the next topic is untapped routes for Ronin growth. It's ambiguous in the sense that there's different things I want to cover here, and the first one being things around like the creator program or creators. I saw there was this post you guys put out by on Ronin. Also, I saw there was something with Kaito AI. I guess both of those are focused around like more video content while also reaching beyond X. So what can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we're looking at improving the way that we run the creator program. And we want to make it more meritocratic. We want to make it more data driven, and we want to expand it beyond X to other platforms, right? We want to make sure that people are looking at YouTube, people are looking at Instagram, even Facebook, right? Like like our socials are much bigger on Facebook than they are on
Yeah.
right? Axie account gets like 100K impressions on Facebook regularly, right?
Yeah.
And so Twitter is very much focused on X, but actually in 2021, 2022, in the past, when we were experiencing hypergrowth, we were actually getting billions of impressions on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. Axie generated, I think, 4 billion impressions on TikTok in 2021. So yeah, so the thing that was interesting about Kaido, so they were always wanted to work with us, and people were like, why isn't Axie on Kaido? Why isn't Ronin on Kaido? I told them, I'm only going to be interested in working with Kaido if you guys expand beyond X, right? X is just an echo chamber. Literally everyone in crypto already knows, right? Marketing is just the act of making sure that people know about you. For the most part, everyone in crypto and everyone in the crypto Twitter bubble already knew about us, right? And so yeah, that's generally what we're thinking in terms of the.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I mean, it's a great space. Twitter is a great space for like once you're in the ecosystem or once you're in there to get a more condensed feed of what everything's going on. Like, it's a great place to be once you're an active community member. But it's true that it might not be the best place for either new users in crypto in general, which is what crypto gaming claims to do much better than other crypto mediums, is acquire new users, right? Because there's the game aspect, and then you discover the other tools. So yeah, I guess it's true that people often forget that it was so huge. Facebook, I think, also because like the Philippines and stuff like that. But yeah, we often forget about that because it's been a few years now, and we're just, I guess it's just an effect of the echo chamber also. So yeah, one second. I read a question in chat, but I'm going to keep that for later. It derailed me. So I think that's a good also with this topic. It's a good way to transition onto the token run, right? Because that's a way to incentivize growth. I think first and foremost, the first question I was wanting to ask you was like, the end of passive staking is coming. What are you guys expecting and thinking about that as a whole?
I mean, so right now is a time to reset foundations, right? Like Ron has gone down a lot, so we can actually take a bunch of drastic decisions that might not be possible if things are going well. Right? When things are going well, it's actually really hard to make hard decisions because, right? Like it's kind of like, oh, when Axie was running really hot, right? And we like got rid of adventure mode rewards. We got rid of like SLP and different things, right? These are things that are good for the economy in the long run, but nobody wants to kill the golden goose in the moment, right? So when times are bad, you cannot let a crisis go to waste and not make structural long-term adjustments that wouldn't really be possible to make in other conditions. And so the main idea, right, is that we have been overpaying for security, right? That was actually one of the main reasons that we wanted to become an L2, is that it doesn't make sense if Ethereum is secure and there's the L2 and there's a possibility of becoming an L2 relatively seamlessly. It doesn't make sense to have to run your own validators and spend millions, tens of millions of dollars of tokens each year to incentivize security, right? Remember, the staking system was created to basically incentivize the validators to secure the network. If that's no longer needed because we're moving to an L2, then we can basically save that budget. We can just send it to the treasury. The token holders can decide what they want to do with it, right? Maybe they're like, hey, like we want to provide liquidity, we want to do an airdrop to holders, whatever, right? Like that's also one of the changes that we're implementing, a governance system based on token holding. So the idea is to basically take the budget that we had earmarked for staking rewards and just to put that in the treasury. We then have an end to this passive staking situation where, right, we took a look at the math. Around 90% of the rewards were just being instantly sold when they were claimed, right? So people complain about the price going down, but right, a lot of it was because the inflation rate was so high. I think the inflation was around 40%, majority of that from staking rewards last year.
Yeah,
so that's the idea, right? It's like you cannot fix tokens only via the supply side, but you also cannot only fix tokens through the demand side. It's actually obviously easier in some ways to fix the supply side and then adjust the demand side, right? So ending the passive staking, that's how we fix the supply issue. On the demand issue, right, that's about making sure that, okay, we're bringing the best games and content to Ronin, making sure that we're actually performing the purpose of the chain, which is to onboard everyday people who have never used the technology before. And right, make sure that the incentives of everyone building on the chain is also aligned with the token holders, right? And that's related to the proof of distribution system. That's related to also Sky Mavis, us saying, hey, like we're taking too much of the money from the Ronin market fees. If Ronin NFT volume goes up a lot in the future, right, we're going to want to make sure that the incentives are much more better aligned with the treasury, right? So that was the rationale behind us dropping our percentage of the Ronin market fee from 2% all the way down to 1.25% and cutting that 50-50 with the treasury, because it's about incentive alignment. We want to make sure that people understand that if NFTs are booming on Ronin, content is booming on Ronin, then that's also going to balloon the treasury, which can be used for things like buybacks. It can be used for drops. It can be used for liquidity farming and incentive programs. And that's really right now becoming the true backer of the token. And that's the right main sustainable way to do it, is to buttress the value of the tokens by making it useful for gas, and also creating a bunch of diversified revenue streams that are backing the value of the token through future potential buybacks, airdrops to holders, things like that.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think also like a big part of like where some fear from the community might come in is like this the uncertainty of knowing what the future holds, especially with big transitions like this. And I think this is why like hearing it directly from the horse's mouth, as it were, is very important, so that
Yeah,
because even if it,
now is the time to make big changes, because obviously, right, it's like what has been what has been happening hasn't been working. So let's try a bunch of different bold big changes. Now is the time to do it. You can't do these things in bull markets. You can only make these large structural healthy changes in bear markets. It's the way that I see it. You also see this on the Axie side, right? BXS shutting down Homeland. And yeah, now is the time to, right, like really address these supply side issues while building the things that will also bolster demand moving forward.
yeah, and I guess the whole proof of like this whole proof of distribution thing, I guess, kind of touches on both, right? Because it's obviously a supply side because it's allocation of RON, but also the whole point of it is to stimulate demand. So I think I had more questions about that, like the whole proof of distribution model, because I think a lot of it will rely on how that's implemented, right? Simply like who decides what, how it's decided, that whole process, like how like the question is, how would you say this is different than say the previous Ronin grants that we might have had?
The Ronin grant system was really annoying because, right, like there were hundreds of teams that were applying, like asking for money, and they were like, a lot of them, right? There's like, oh, they would only think about deploying on the chain if we gave them a grant or something like that, right? So actually having a grant program, I think, is kind of toxic. Because then, right, it just becomes this barrier to people just shutting up and building and proving themselves, right? So basically, the proof of distribution system kind of turns things on its head, where it's like, yo, build something, ship something, prove yourself, and then you'll get naturally rewarded by the protocol without having to talk to me, talking to people at Sky Mavis, right? Like that's not a good workflow where like you need to talk to people on the chain in order to build on the chain, right? And people are so I think that's the big thing that it addresses. And also in the age of AI, right? Like I'm talking to a team right now that's gonna, right, basically reskin their current game. It's a successful game, one of the most successful games in crypto that's not on Ronin. They're gonna reskin their game, kind of make it Axie themed and ship it on Ronin. They can do it in 2 or 3 weeks because of AI powered deployment. So now, right, it's like the annoying thing about gaming is that, right, like it took a lot of time and funding to create games in the past, but that's actually being disrupted right now. So now you can kind of almost like start deploying games, like you can deploy DeFi protocols, and I think that is also going to help.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm of sorts. Like right at the time that we're trying to transition this, it's also easier for games to do that. Can I ask you to tell me more what you mean by like I forget how you said it, but like naturally selected by the protocol or something like that. When you said that, like how will that work as opposed to, because I don't understand that. Like if, because in a grant a person's doing the picking, how is that changing?
Yeah, so basically there will be a kind of like a builder score, and every project, right, will have its own score depending on what metrics it's putting up. Kind of like an athlete, right? It's like, oh, how many points per game is it scoring? How many rebounds? Whatever, right? So for these projects, the way that we're thinking about it for now is, right, what's the NFT and the ERC20 volume? What are the gas fees that they're generating? What is the TVL associated with this app? And right, are they actively engaging users that are, I think, holding more than a certain amount of RON? And I think it's flexible, and this is actually also one of the things that will be related to governance, where changes to the system can be enacted theoretically through the governance system. But we will propose an initial framework for this. We'll do that before the migration, right? So it should be out at some point in the next 10 days, and all the builders will be able to migrate. People will be able to register. But the idea is basically, yeah, right. Like we want to have this system that is giving out the rewards. There's rewards that were formerly in the staking rewards program will be flowing to builders that are naturally creating and putting up good metrics on the chain without us having to fucking do anything or even talk to them. Right? So even if a team that I could fucking hate, right? Let's say I don't know, like a team that I hate, right?
Obviously, I wasn't gonna.
The past was like what, Alluvium or something. Right? Imagine, right? Like, but a team that I fucking hate, right? Sky Mavis hates, right? They could theoretically, if they do well and they put up good metrics, right? They could do, they could be getting a lion's share of these proof of distribution rewards, right? Proof of distribution. Distribution means that you're actually getting fucking users and driving metrics.
So will there be because this is where my mind goes automatically, like, will there be a framework also to like monitor for potential abuse, whether it's like wash trading to increase volume, fake users, everything like that? Like, because I think that needs to be also clearly, maybe not clearly detailed, because then obviously people know how to work around it. But yeah.
It also will need to be Sybil resistant. So.
What resistant? Sorry.
Sybil resistance, like bot resistant or
yeah. I guess I mean, obviously, and so I guess I'm excited to see how that rolls out, right? Because even for the whole narrative behind the chain, the fact that it's not about because a lot of people might say sometimes that there's like some favorite picking and stuff going on like that without them knowing everything that goes on behind the scenes, right? So it's going to be good for the narrative also, for people to for you to be able to be like, hey, you guys, anybody come and just build, right? So there's, I guess there was this topic too about like I think there's a big run unlock upcoming, right? It's one of the big last ones. We're already at a huge amount of the run token has already been allocated. I guess this question is more in general. I was prepared about, but like, is there any things you guys do specifically to manage sell pressure, or is that more you let it organically handle itself when there's big, like on the cusp of big unlocks? Do you guys worry about that, or do you kind of let the ecosystem handle itself basically?
So, I mean, a lot of these things, right, where it's like a lot of this unlock, a lot of that is like in different pools of tokens that, right, it's like the staking rewards, right? Or, right, part of it is Sky Mavis's unlock, right? And we actually already locked, so I see one of the next questions. We actually locked a lot of our existing tokens, right? So we put out an article about this in 2025 about how we actually, right, had already committed to relocking.
I guess the two topics are kind of intertwined.
I don't think it was that effective, to be honest, right? Because I'm not sure. I think, right, it's like what we actually need to do is make sure that we're addressing supply from where a lot of the sell pressure is coming from, and then also increasing demand.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's
my take on this, or the way that I think about it is, right, it's just good to get all the tokens unlocked, especially while the price is low, because you actually don't want to have these big price. You don't want these huge unlocks coming later
down the road
when they're worth a ton more money.
Right? And that's even as we were talking about earlier about like handling the supply side before stimulating the demand side. That's also one of the big things that can hamper future demand, right? Is if people start getting interested in Ron, look at the tokenomics as things are ramping up, and they see down the line these massive unlocks that can stop someone from buying tokens, right? So I'm excited about that stage of the Ron life cycle, that it gets like even more released. I mean, you see it even just in meme coins, right? You see people appreciate the fact that when a meme coin comes out, all you have to worry about is like the dev wallet, but all the tokens are out, right? I think a lot of the problems that come out about token price points and stuff like that. Like sometimes I wish a project would just no unlocks, full release the whole supply, but obviously that's scary to do when
that's why people like meme coins, right? So
that's
and that's actually what was good about like SLP in some ways, right? But
Yeah.
And that's not possible for a project that requires right people working on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a
And a
big,
community around
it's
it,
a, it's a
and
big gamble
more
to take. It's
complexity than a meme coin. Right?
yeah, yeah, and a lot of work put in. Yeah. So I guess the last question we'll tackle about like on the whole Ron topic is, what or just overall, like what would you say success looks like for the Ron token in 12 months?
I would say that basically in 12 months, I would want to see ecosystem metrics looking significantly better, things like TVL, things like gas usage and treasury inflows. I would also want to see that the best games in crypto continue to be on Ronin. Perhaps we have some other categories that are percolating that are kind of peripheral, or just like Katana, for example, was one of the biggest dexes in 2021, right? So to see some peripheral categories looking good on Ronin, perhaps like right, I think Ronin is a good fit for an emerging market stablecoin solution. Could be good for like TCG type of application. And so yeah, I would want to see right treasury inflows, gas usage, right, for us to continue to have the best crypto gaming content. Also, right, crypto games that are growing or much bigger than they are right now. And I think ideally we would have the treasury inflows each month higher than the inflation rate. So that would basically be like almost a kind of like a deflationary token, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good stepping stone for the rest of the future after that, right? Yeah. So there's the next topic I want to talk about is Axie, and then after that we'll tackle some community questions before wrapping things up. Okay. So first of all, at the moment these days, like how involved would you say you are in the whole with Axie, all the Axie games, let's say?
I'm pretty involved, and especially on the Atia's legacy side and some of the game economy things.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm pretty in the weeds and hands-on when it comes to what are the things that we want to try to build and explore with Atia's legacy. And so yeah, I'm quite involved.
Yeah, I think
especially also now that I'm in Vietnam, like one of the reasons I wanted to move to Vietnam is like allows me to be a bit more hands-on in product rather than just, okay, right, it's time for us to launch something. Right, I'm able to be a little bit more part of the full life cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it must be cool to be, on the ground with the team. It makes it more direct, right? So yeah, one of the things I was gonna ask you until you tweeted about it yesterday was when next playtest. But as you said, so you in this tweet you posted yesterday, you said targeting April.
Yeah, like mid-April, I would say is a good target. Also, likewise with the migration, and likewise with the migration. So I think we had originally said late March, but we're gonna shift that ETA to April due to us some of the exchange partners needing a bit of time to kind of go through the migration process.
What can you tell us more about this? What are you most excited about for people to discover in the next playtest?
I mean, the first playtest, I had a lot of fun, and we made this one like, so the last playtest was way too easy. So we're gonna play around with the difficulty here in terms of the PvE content. So
hopefully, so it's a bit of a meme in the show that I keep complaining about because my phone couldn't run the Atia's Legacy playtest. So hopefully one of the difficulty metrics won't be access to the game because I really want to play this one. I think at the time I still had my I had my 10-year-old PC.
Talk to ET. And
I did. Okay, I will in advance then, because during it they had I think it was something to do with the processor or a chip like that. So it was because it's a Samsung Galaxy S24, so it was the flagship Samsung phone at the time. But I think one of the chips.
Bro, you have a Korean phone, dude. I didn't know that non-Koreans have Samsung Galaxy S20. Like that's hella Korean.
Yeah, well, they sell their phones elsewhere. I really like all the Samsung phones. So yeah, that was the. I hope that's not one of the difficulty metrics is access to the game. Oh, so yeah, that's. I guess I really like that answer, right? Because it's the discovery of difficulty. I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
mean, we wanna right like we wanna explore making Atia's legacy. Maybe I'll just talk about some things, some thoughts that I have about Atia's
Yeah, go
legacy.
ahead. Go go go.
And so one of the things that we're seeing is that session-based gameplay is really important these days, if that makes sense, where it's like a game that you can come in and play for 15 to 20 minutes rather at a time and feel like you had a complete experience rather than something that you need to play for 5 hours. Especially also like when it comes to an MMO. And we're
Yeah,
also
the ability to also be able to leave at any point and not feel like that you're missing out and that you've been dragged away, because that's like that negative experience makes people less likely to come back on.
yeah, like for me, like I cannot play WoW because I just know that it's going to disrupt my entire life.
I'm the same. I can't play MMOs.
So the idea of an MMO that's a little bit more session based, where you feel like you can play for 15 to 20 minutes and have a complete experience, right? Also the integration of risk to earn, and also, right, let's think about what works for EVE Online is the idea of risk actually as well, right? Because you join a war, you have your ship, that ship can be destroyed, right? It's social. So right, the element of risk, the ability to profit, the fact that you're with your friends, these are all the critical elements. And we're looking at, right, based on the building blocks that we have right now, right, this kind of top-down ARPG combat system, the town, right? How do we basically kind of reconcile these things into something that is workable?
Yeah, sure. So I'm highlighting this question because I was. Will there be like co-op in the next playtest or system a party system? You can't confirm nor
That's
deny.
obviously that needs to happen. What I'll say is, but I don't believe that it will be in the next one. So maybe some sneak peek is our idea is to have like the second playtest test like a dungeon, kind of like a dungeon extraction loop, right? Where you're fighting your way through a dungeon further and further. The further you go, the more loot you get. But you can also like lose your loot. So we want to test that first. A few weeks after that, we want to test PvP. And then perhaps like parties would be the playtest after that.
Oh, wow. So does that mean you're saying like that playtest number 3 will be a few weeks after just playtest number 2?
That's the current thinking. That's the current thinking is that then we want to like have the next playtest, which will be the PvP testing quite soon, relatively soon after the second one.
Can we safely say that the time between playtest 2 and playtest 3 will be shorter than the time between playtest 1 and playtest 2?
Yes. Much
okay. That's cool. Excited about
that. We also like some of the people. Some of us on the team are like obsessed with arc raiders, not like the idea of arc raiders, right? Or the idea of like what would Axie X arc raiders look like with minus the guns, right? You don't think about the gun aspect, right?
But
the idea of an extraction, session-based extraction with the loadout system, right? These are some, these are where our thoughts are out. We just had Jeff K come to HQ actually, and he's actually a huge fan of arc raiders. So we're discussing, right, like what makes that game so good? What is the tension? What is that seems like it could be a good fit, right, for Web3 is like that type of mechanic. That's actually also what works for me personally with Cambria during Gold Rush is what I love is like, right, either crafting my outfit or my loadout, basically crafting my equipment or having to buy my equipment after I die, going out there and feeling like, right, I'm wearing a lot of money. So I'm wearing a lot of money on my body and you go out there, right? You're farming mobs. When someone comes, you're not sure whether they're friendly, whether they're gonna gank you or try to gank you.
Yeah.
Right? There's all of that tension, and the fact that it's involving real money just increases the tension that's already there, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, right? Rather
Yeah.
than, so these are the types of conversations or thinking that's the type of thinking that we've had around what makes Atia's legacy really interesting potentially in the end game.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting to think about, right? Obviously, good conversations to be having while designing a game. One of the questions there is like, what's Axie's next major moment? I think the easy answer to that, right, is would you say it's like the release of Atia's legacy? Or what's your answer to that question? What's Axie's next big moment?
Like, so we have some we don't necessarily want to wait that long, right? It's like I think like these playtests are going to be fun, and we have terrariums coming up. BAXS I think is an important structural change to the economy, and but yeah, we're also thinking about, can we do something that's like, remember the nightmare event? Nightmare event was pretty good for stimulating the economy. Could we do something that's much bigger than that?
Mm.
And there's like 11 million inactive axes that are kind of just out there. Is there a way that somehow those could be somehow we could get rid of those? And that's another question that we've been thinking about, right? That's another way to like solve, right? Like, yes, we can stimulate demand, but if there's 12 million axes, right, it's still really a drop in the bucket. But if we're able to get the axie population down to like 1 million or so, 2 million, 3 million even, like then we're kind of cooking.
Wow.
If we
yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about because we have so many axes, right? But obviously, that would be
I think only, let's say 10% of them are active over the last year, which is actually still a lot, million, right? It's like, roughly it can estimate like there's still around 100,000 people in the Axie community on a yearly basis, right? So, but yeah, that's still, right, only around like 10% of the supply being active. And so yeah, we're also looking at, if we can do something maybe lore related, or maybe chimera related to, help kind of fix the supply issue. So yeah, I may have said too much already.
But that's the point of this show. It's to extract some alpha from you unwittingly. So but before we move on to the community questions, there was one like the question of like, do you think Ronin has grown like beyond the needs of Axie to lead it forward? Are we there yet?
If hopefully Axie and Ronin, right, are just in this symbiotic, beneficial relationship to each other where they're both helping each other. And yes, of course, right, like Ronin is less reliant on Axie than it was in the past, right? We now have things like Moku, Cambria, Pixels, Ragnarok, right? You have a bunch of other stuff on the chain, and things that are substantial and have their own communities. But I think Axie still has a special place in people's hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the whole existing crypto community, everyone knows about Axie, right? It's like a sleeping giant, but people might forget about it. But I think if and when things pick up again, people will remember how well known Axie is, right? When things start going right for Atia's legacy and all that, the simple renown of it and hopefully the people that come back because of it will speak for itself, right? So yeah. Now the community questions. I asked people what they needed to hear from you. The one I got the most, I think, was like, we'll get it right out of the way, is like, what would you say the plan is and what is to be expected like post L2 migration? What's the next chapter?
I think honestly, right, it will be up to the products. So yes, I think there are some cool things that we can implement at the protocol level, right? Like, oh, let's do some really interesting governance proposals, right? Oh, can we do the honor system, right? The player reputation system. Some of these, because the builder score is actually going to be kind of like developer reputation, right? But we still, I think, potentially would need a user reputation system. So we're taking a look at that as well. So those are, I think, some of the things at the protocol level, to be honest. But I do think that, right, Ronin is a chain for everyday people, right? Yes, it's very gaming centric, but the idea of the reason that we choose gaming is because that has a way of being very relatable to everyday people. And so it will be, after the migration, right? A lot of it will be making sure that our winners are winning and that we're continuing to attract new winners to the chain at the product level, right? So that can be games like Moku, Cambria, Fambleborn, Pixels, Ragnarok, but it could also potentially be applications that are a good fit for everyday people, right? So that could be, stablecoin, remittance, transfers in emerging markets, right? Because if you're building a blockchain app for Filipinos, obviously you're going to want to be on Ronin, right? A blockchain app for people in Peru, Venezuela, Brazil, Ronin is a great fit, right? So our specialty is not just in terms of gaming. It's that our specialty in gaming has also allowed us to have this kind of geographic, regional, almost socioeconomic tint to the people that we have on the chain and the people that we can onboard to the chain.
Yes, and this, like, actually your answer makes me think of the previous topic we were on, and it also ties it together with Or's question in chat, which is, will like Axie Classic and Axie Origin have builder scores, for example, or game scores or whatever? If Axie Classic and Axie Origin pick up or do good and pick up, will those games also get an allocation potentially? Like, if the people are speaking by which games they're playing, and Axie Classic is played a lot, how would that go? Let's say.
So I think builder score theoretically would be at the developer level. But theoretically, right, like maybe, right, the proof of distributions rewards for that could go maybe to the Axie treasury, right? Or maybe they could just go to the Ronin treasury, because, right, Sky Mavis builds those games, and we said that Sky Mavis's rewards from that system would just go straight to the treasury, because you don't want to be seen as benefiting from it in that way, in a way other than through our holding of the RON token.
But then if that happened, it wouldn't directly help the game in that moment, right? Let's say people wanted to, with their wallet, with their on-chain activity, wanted to signal that they want more funds, more development funneled back into those games. Would that be a possibility, right? If how would that?
This is a good question. To be honest, like, we've been thinking about, how do we, it seems like people want us to work on Origins or Classic, or want someone to work on Origins or Classic. But the problem is these games are not profitable to work on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if the community just wants, if the
that's
community just wants someone to build it, right? Maybe, right, someone could get paid to build it, whether that's a different developer or us, or, right.
Yeah.
The problem, right, is that Origins and Classic, it's not like something that makes a lot of business sense to work on, or to continue adding new features to right now.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the community know that, but that's where if the on-chain activity was high enough that the new proof of distribution, whatever that RON amount would be, would suddenly make it at least break even or profitable.
These are all good questions. These are all good questions.
Yeah,
right?
but I think
even then, it's like, does Axie just have one, right? Or do the individual Axie titles have one? Because even in Sky Mavis, it's really hard to do the attribution. Even when we have all of the perfect data, it's really hard to figure out what game is driving what
Yeah,
volume
that's
in
true.
in a
Also,
lot of cases, right?
yeah, like if somebody buys a collectible XE, what game were they
You don't,
playing?
yeah, exactly. You don't know which one to attribute it
It's
to,
not as
rather
simple.
than other than maybe fucking looking at that specific address, mapping it to an email, mapping it to what game they're
Yeah, yeah,
playing or
yeah.
whatever,
And what
right?
if they're playing multiple games? But how do we know which one they're
Yeah,
like?
that's why I
Which one are
think
they
it's
spending for?
in some ways it's easiest to just attribute it right at the IP level, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's gonna be if these are good problems to think about in the future, right? If it's that much attention is going back to these games, these are gonna be good problems to handle, right? Yeah. Next question. I mean, it's tied also with like the post L2 migration, all of that. Should we be expecting any new partnership announcements? As many leaks as possible are encouraged.
New partnerships. We always have, new
Yeah, yeah,
partnerships.
I guess
So,
it's an open question.
so what I'm seeing, right? Maybe a comment that I'll make here is that people are seeing that, right, Cambria and Moku are doing well, and Fableborn, obviously they had like a weird situation recently, but that kind of that trifecta was uh has been creating a kind of a bit of a new flow of demand, and builders reaching out. So.
Yeah. Even just to go back to our previous question, when I see someone in chat asking, what can we expect from Axie Treasury being in the hands of the community soon? That would also be a more direct way for people to divert more funds, let's say, more actively, that would be easier to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start staking the ETH, right? So the idea is for not me, not us, like it's for the Axie Treasury to start staking the ETH that's in there. So I think around 2,800. So that'll be the execution of one of the previously passed governance proposals, and then my understanding, right? It's like I'm like the town builders want to pass the constitution, because theoretically, once you pass the constitution, they can set up councils to do a lot of things really quickly, and related to things like the treasury. So that's my understanding of what's happening right now on the governance front, right?
Okay.
So as you know, the good and the weird thing about governance is like it's not really up to me, and it's not totally in my hands. A lot of it is in the hands of the community. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess another one of these things, or one of these questions, sorry, that I got asked was like, can you tell us more about the utility of AXS in Atiya's Legacy and in the terrariums? Is there anything? What comes to mind when you think of that?
So, for both of these for both of these experiences, we want to set the foundation really strong. Like we want to make sure that these are enjoyable experiences that can generate revenue. If they're generating revenue, then to me, right, it's like token utility has gone more towards like Hyperliquid. What is Hyperliquid's token utility is like primarily based on the fact that they generate revenue and use that revenue to buy back the token.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, generally, right, it's like we need to make these games fun. We need to make these games have deep reasons to interact with the economy, and to generate significant transaction volumes. And then once you have these things happening, it's very easy to divert value to the token.
Do you have a playtest number in mind where we will like start testing out AXS utility?
I'm not exactly yeah, like maybe my estimate would be like 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, that's an exciting thing too. It starts with that, right? Okay. Another question that was asked was like, what can you tell us, or what's the state of the recovery of the hacked funds to this date?
So, I think the only thing that I can say is, that we continue to make progress on it, and that we're in contact with the FBI on it, And yeah, I think, they want to move faster on it. And I think, like, the new administration is obviously been more friendly to crypto. So I think they're moving faster on stuff like this. And, it's significant, and it's a significant amount of money. I believe the last time that we publicly said a number was like maybe 30 mil. And I think that's when Bitcoin was at 60K.
Mm.
Let me just check to see what I said, to see what was said. Norway funds. Yeah.
And when you say they, like that, they're in a hurry, you mean like law enforcement and stuff like that, right? As like the new, that they're in a hurry to, or not in a hurry, but that they want things to move faster. Is it when you say they, was it them?
Yeah. So I mean, these reclamation processes can take a while, but it seems like there's some. Yeah, it seems like
I'm going to move things forward. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always like, a good thing that's looming in the background is, right, potentially good news, right? So
yeah. Another catalyst at the right moment for good things to happen. Yeah. And then so there was I think that covered a bit, like most of the community questions that we wanted to do. There was I was going to ask you one more question, and then we can start wrapping up. It's themed around like Psychout's departure. I wanted to get to, obviously, for as much as you can share, what are your, like, what would you say has changed the most with his departure? Or how have things changed, should I say?
I mean, so, I think we were at a situation, or we were at a crossroads, right? Where not just within Sky Mavis, but I think within crypto, people have to decide whether they want to, like, move on with their lives, or they want to double down and, like, really go all in and do the things that are going to be needed to actually turn the industry around, turn Sky Mavis around, right? So I think that was the situation that we had, where, I think for Alex, he just had a kid, which can be like a really life-changing thing, I've heard. And so he just had a kid, right? He wanted to spend more time with his family. He didn't want to do the thing that was needed, which was to move to Vietnam and dedicate himself fully to doing what was needed to, get things back on the right track. But I did, right? So for me, I mean, it's hard to say, because a lot of it has just been, I feel good because I've come to Vietnam. I'm more hands-on. I see everything that's happening now, and where I have a much, better view or understanding of what's actually happening. So yeah, I think that's the main, that's the main change for me, right? Is that I'm not back in Vietnam.
If only,
obviously, right? I grew up with Alex in a way, right? Like, when we started Axie, we were just like, right, people playing crypto kitties in our pajamas, right? So when we started this journey, so we came like a crazy, went on a crazy journey together, and he's kind of stepping back, right? He's still going to be involved in some ways, maybe at the board and stuff like that. So.
If only he had thought about replacing himself with an AI agent. Did you hear about that on Ronin? Like a CEO making an AI agent.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, that will not be so far-fetched.
Yeah.
It was just, right, unfortunate for that particular situation, where it's like, that team has not been able to really prioritize or strategize well, right? They haven't been able to strategize well, and they haven't been able to execute well. So when you have a lack of ability to do the right things or do those things well, then
it's not a good
disaster,
recipe.
disaster.
Yeah.
I,
So
I think
relating,
I think that's what happened there. So
relating to your previous answer, there was Or's comment in chat. He says, Ronin is Jihoz's kid. We truly appreciate his dedication to doing what's needed to bring us back. So,
yeah,
wait.
no, it means a lot. And, I also remember the times, in 2018 where Or would come into the chat and yeah, I mean, in some ways, right? Like we've gone through so many hard times, right? Like people are like, "Oh, how do you feel?" It's like, I mean, I don't know. Like this is probably one of the top 4 hardest times that we've been through in crypto in my life. I guess is what I can say. That I would say that 2023 was a hard year. 2019 was hard. 2018 was hard. 2020 was also hard. So there have been. It's usually crypto is very. It's a difficult thing, and that's actually also why, right, the rewards can be really high at times because this thing tries to shake off as many people as possible, and get people to give up, and yeah, I'm betting that by being resilient, by being anti-fragile, by making the right decisions, by being dedicated, by actually focusing on onboarding everyday people, by having the highest quality content, by making hard economic decisions. I'm betting, right, that is going to be enough for us to, right, once again experience success and joy as a community. And I do believe that will happen.
I mean, it's almost like the script of what I'm going to ask, because one of the closing questions I was going to ask you was like, what are your predictions for Q2? So like the very immediate future, and answer that as it's purposefully ambiguous. So you can pick a direction.
I believe that we will execute well on we're going to execute well on the L2 migration. And the Atia's legacy playtest is going to go well. You're still going to have Moku's Grand Arena season going on for a lot of this, right? Cambria Genesis is coming. Fableborn Season 5. And, there are a couple of like new teams, new products that are also on their way to Ronin. So yeah, I believe that if we execute, we're stalwart, and we have everybody's support, we stay unified as a community, then I think we're gonna be feeling a lot better in Q2. I also feel like like one thing that I see is I feel like our relative position, right, is still quite strong. It's not like I see anybody succeeding in Web3 gaining in any way that's kind of significant relative to us. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So
another thing that I want to say, right, is like,
go.
It's like new stuff. We want new games, right? I think like, the idea that someone is coming to save us, like some sexy new product or a new team, I think that's a little bit overrated, to be honest. And definitely, new teams can help, and new teams are interested in coming. But
I guess
I will also say that that's not a silver bullet.
Yeah,
because right now it's like, who are these new teams, right? Like there are some good games outside of Ronin. There are some good games outside of Ronin. But we'll see. It's also like, I also think that like with vibe coding, right? Like developers can come out of nowhere. There are people on our team that are now developers that weren't developers 2 months ago. Jatster is like Jatster can make games now.
Yeah, I've been chatting with him. He's going all in on AI.
Yes, we kind of gave him a special role where he's like the AI growth associate. So he's coding a lot of different things for us.
I mean,
he's actually saving us a lot of money. That's an interesting thing too. Is like we were able to replace a lot of the services that we're paying for, right? And with with some like new tools that
Yeah,
can
and
make.
as an employee in any business, the best thing you can do for a company is save them money or make them money, right? So that's good for
Saving
everybody.
money is actually just as powerful as making money, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
even more powerful sometimes because if you're saving money while doing the same thing, it frees up more resources. Fabled Melon in
Table
chat
Melon
says,
says he's becoming a dev and vibe coding is OP. Definitely. Like, I
yeah,
actually think that that's one thing that we need to start talking about more as an ecosystem. Like, a bit is like vibe coding. Right. I think anyone can become a builder now. Everyone's talking about like agents or whatever, but really the idea is that anyone can become a builder. Anyone could theoretically make a game. Anyone can make tools. Anyone can make a lot of different things. Yeah, I think like you may have like your own right budding career
yeah.
in vibe coding. So,
It also means that anyone can get a builder score, right? So
that's also true, right? Yeah.
it's not just the dev because now everyone can become a dev. Anyone can build a product.
And then
And
you know what Zio is doing with AI, right? Like video and stuff like that. I think is really cool and really worth noting. So
yeah. So just to wrap up, if there was anything like a last thing you want to say to the community, it can be like an encouraging statement, like something that you know what to do. You're really good at this. So what like a message of that people can get behind for
mm.
until you come back on the show in a few weeks or in a couple of months.
I mean, I think that April is going to be a really fun month for us. We have the migration coming up. We got a Tia's Legacy playtest. You know, I think also right, understanding that, you know, crypto has been hard. You know, it's been hard for all of us. And I'm actually really proud of the community, right? We can say that, oh, like sentiment is bad. But actually, you know, I actually think that, right, the community is finding things to rally around, right? Because remember, the difference between us and everybody else is that when the market is bad, we actually have a lot of fun things to do together, right? We can play, right? We can play Grand Arena. We can always play Axie, right? Whatever you fucking say about Axie, Axie has what? I don't even know how many playable games Axie has right now. Like 4 or 5, right? Maybe 4. Homeland, Classic, Origins. You know, and then you have the bounty board system. Jaster was trying to get fucking Axie Doll up again.
I'd
You know,
love
and then
that.
we have Trium's coming. We have a Tia's Legacy, right? So Axie, right? Like people talk shit about Axie, but Axie has more games shipped than than anyone else in the space. So we have a ton of things to do together, right? And we're only gonna make it by having fun with each other, by hanging out, by enjoying the struggle, and that's kind of my mood right now, where it's like back to basics, back to fundamentals. I moved to Vietnam. I'm not fucking leaving. Obviously, I'm fully dedicated, and I look forward to a year where I think we're going to be making a lot of structural improvements and changes for the good, both on the tokenomic side and the product side, and I in some ways, right, crypto kind of feels like it did when we first joined the space. So when I joined the space in 2018, 2019, like everyone was very jaded on crypto, right? Because there was the whole ICO era, and right, like basically none of the ICO projects at that point had really worked out or delivered anything. So people were feeling very jaded about crypto. I also feel that same pessimism now. And at that time, that was the wrong fucking thing, right? It paid to be an optimist. It paid to believe in the future. And I generally think that that's how I've been able to do anything in my life, right? And that's not to say that I'm successful, and not to say that even Axie and Ronin is the sole thing related to my life, right? Like I bought Tesla when I was in college. And so I graduated high school in 2009. So I must have bought Tesla in 2010 or 2011, right? Because I was an optimist, because I believed in human potential. And, right now AI is kind of the very sexy thing. And And it used to be flipped, right? Crypto was sexy and nobody cared about AI. But we're also learning about how these things go hand to hand. And also, right, you don't necessarily want to be thinking with the crowd. So yeah, I believe that the biggest market in crypto is still the market for everyday people. You saw this with semiconductors, right? The original demand for semiconductors was just to build the computers that they used to send people to the moon. Those were the only people using large scale semiconductors in like the 1960s when they first came out. These are computer chips, right? Eventually, right, semiconductors or chips became something that became used in all of the products that we use as people on a daily basis, but they weren't for consumers in the early days. And that's how I feel about crypto, is that eventually the larger market for this technology is everyday people in everyday life, rather than just these niche financial use cases. And that's, I believe, where we specialize and we have more experience than anyone else. So, if we fail because we made a bet on that and we were wrong, hats off. That wouldn't make sense to me. So,
well, perfect.
So yeah, I'm here. I'm not fucking leaving. And I think we have an advantage, to be honest, right? The reason that we've been able to stick around for so long, the reason that this community has been able to stay together for so long, is that when we have hard times or we have boring times, we always have something to do together, right? So, I think for us, the creators, the community members, I think, right, like the thing that you can do is figure out, right, like what are the most interesting things that are happening? How do you share that? How do you educate? How can we help, onboard a new audience to it as well?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect note to end things on. So yeah, thanks for coming on. You've given the whole community like a lot of things to digest. I always love having you on, and I think also just, even though a lot of the things we covered you've already tweeted about, already in articles, I think sometimes a different medium, and especially through the podcast when you come on, is a great way to like reach the people who haven't quite understood it, myself included, right? Certain points. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and I hope you had a good time too. So see you next time you come on.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I'll come back whenever you want. Just let me know.
Yeah. Perfect. We'll definitely be scheduling that. So, and then, yeah. So, wow. It's always so fun having Jihoz on, because I'm going to be honest, I was like really nervous having to like solo host the show with Jihoz as a guest. But as you can see, he gives such banger answers while also making me feel very reassured. So all you have to do is like ask a few good questions, and then you just get a really good show, really good answers, I feel. And yeah, I think some things that stuck with me for today are when the answer he gave about one of the thing that he's most excited about for Atiya's legacy, which is like what he just gave it was almost like just a one-word answer, like the word difficulty, because it entails so many things. It's not just toggling the difficulty in game, but it's like you need difficulty even for economics to work, right? You need skill in a game. So I think it was just, that's the thing that sticks to me. And also the discussion around the proof of distribution token, which even just myself personally helped understand it a lot more, because I think a lot of the FUD that might be circulating comes from people not quite understanding, and this is why mediums like this I feel are important. Even like I like it myself because I get to find out more about the chain that I'm on, and I hope that you guys also learn some things and figure out some things and are able to get some answers to your questions. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see each other next week at the same time. We'll be announcing who the guest is, and yeah, thank you for coming in, thank you for tuning in, and see you guys next week.
Not a chance that I can't hear any of you fuckers right now, and you actually are.
Oh, shit! Fuck!